welcome to your award-winning The Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week through news and headlines ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel, and you're the host this week, which you haven't heard in probably half a year now, pre-Sophia BS, is PalpaKelli. You heard her laugh right there, the recognizable PalpaKelli. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing all right. It's been a while since you've been on, and we're going to catch up on a lot of that with the Brokehead block. But first, if this is your first episode of the show, the way we format it is we go through this week's news, and then we head on into the Brokehead block, which is the more personal side of the show, what PalpaKelli and I have been up to since you last heard us. So let's jump right in and explore sector number 574. So this first bit of news takes us right back to the Gen 1ers, which is PalpaKelli, so it worked out that you were on this week, as the Pokemon Trading Card Company is releasing a special set called Pokemon Scarlet and Violet 151, and it features the return of the holofoil Galaxy design, and they're going to use that for the energy cards. Are you familiar with the Galaxy design?
I don't remember that one. Is it from the original set?
Essentially, yeah, like Genesis, it's where the holo were like little circles and different sizes. Yeah, that's Galaxy.
Cool.
So this set is going to pay tribute to the original 151 Pokemon from the Kanto region with new illustrations. So this cards will only be available in box sets, Elite Trainer boxes, tins, Ultimate Premium Collection, so you cannot buy individual booster packs. You can only get the booster packs through these boxes. This is not new to Pokemon. They've done this in the past with several of the more specialized set, the non-main sets basically, but they're still legal to use in the game.
First of all, every release of Pokemon cards should pay tribute to the original 151. All of them. But second, I think it's brilliant that they're not releasing them in booster packs. You have to buy the big box because suckers like me, we're gonna do it. Why not?
Yeah, and every time you can hear, you might be able to hear Sophia, by the way. I should have put that out there, but she's with us. This is the only way PalpaKelli was able to record this week. But yes, I put up that video a couple months ago at Scott's suggestion of my full Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur collection, which so far I have every Bulbasaur card printed except for the one that was the Pokemon Snap winner that only 100 of exist. Maybe 0 now if that person threw them away, that kid won or whatever. So this set does have a new set of Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur, so naturally I've got to get some of these. This is set to launch here in the US on September 22nd. That is expected to be very popular among fans new and old.
I'm excited for it, and I haven't collected Pokemon cards in a very long time, probably since the original set. I do have Pikachus, though. You buy me Pikachu cards, and I collect those. So naturally, I will be looking for a Pikachu as well. Have they shown any preview of the art? So is it just going to be redesigned from the original set or completely new?
So at this point, they have already put up all of the art online. People have gotten these scans ahead of time. They leak them, they put them up. So they are all new cards, all new designs. So they're not like the base set reprinted with new designs. They're mainly saying that they're doing up the Kanto cards again. And I don't know why they're emphasizing new designs, but it's like every art is going to have new art.
Right.
I guess just so that people know that this is not just the base set reprinted. And I think that's why they were emphasizing the new artwork.
Got it. I would be happy either way. 151, I am a Gen 1er. I say that proudly. I know most Gen 2 Pokemon, but after that, you've lost me.
Speaking of losing, the U.S. Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has denied the FTC's request to halt Microsoft's takeover of Activision Blizzard. So this does clear the way for the historic gaming merger to proceed. The UK's Competition and Markets Authority is negotiating with Microsoft, extending the approval deadline. But this is the FTC, as we have been saying here on the show. We said it last week. We've been saying it for months. This deal was going through. People we knew were saying, no, this is dead in the water. It's not happening. Michael Pachter was like, it's happening. Back when the first week, he was like, they can fight it all they want. They're just delaying it. It's actually worse for consumers if they deny this merger, because then you're not going to have Call of Duty on the Switch. Microsoft is like, look, we're making Call of Duty on more systems than ever. We're putting more games on Game Pass, which is giving consumers more options to games. How is this anti-consumer, FTC? And the judge saw it the same exact way. And now PlayStation has signed an exclusive deal with Microsoft to have Call of Duty games on their consoles. Finally, PlayStation, Sony, they stopped being giant fucking babies, accepted the inevitable, and it's happening.
I would love for you to put up a video of your little happy dance that you did through the house when this happened. You were like a little leprechaun, like, pot of gold.
A Mexican leprechaun,
I guess. What would that be? Do you have leprechauns in Mexico? What do you call them?
We have duendes. Yeah.
Oh,
duendes.
Aren't they evil?
They're mischievous.
Oh, I guess leprechauns
like
are kind of
gnomes,
evil
yeah.
too. They like steal your gold and stuff.
Microsoft will be stealing all the gold come this merger and get Call of Duty on there. I love that people are like, you act like they're paying you. And I'm like, they are. It's called dividends. So I'm loving this. And this is a great deal. One of my buddies was like, Daniel, I'm going to tell you what's going to come up Game Pass next week.
I'm going to tell you some secrets, insider information.
Well, he was like, these games might be on there. And I'm like, it's not going to happen that quick. And then Maceo was like, so the last time they did a deal, that like the next month, there were games already on there. I'm like, oh shit. So it might be that sooner rather than later, we'll start seeing some Activision Blizzard titles on Microsoft's Game Pass.
You may have to get Game Pass.
Yeah, if and when I get the Xbox Series X or S, Game Pass is the only reason I'm getting that system, because I'm at this point, I can't be buying discs for $60, $70. Instead, get Game Pass for at most $16 a month. I was planning on getting the $11 tier, and you can just stream and download all the games they have on Game Pass. All the old Halos that I never played. Now the Call of Duties that are gonna be on there. Minecraft is on there for Leo. The TMNT game was on there. So all of it is just good for everyone.
I know you and I have talked about it a lot, not on the show, but I do think that Game Pass is really incredible. I'm so happy for you that this merger went through. I don't know very little about these games, but it does sound like it's a great thing for consumers.
This news story I put up on Facebook, and there was a bit of excitement on it, especially as this is new to the world of comics in a way, or the returning characters, as Skybound Entertainment, led by Robert Kirkman, who of course did The Walking Dead, has acquired the license to publish new comic books based on the Universal Monsters. So the first series, Universal Monsters Dracula, is written by James Tynion IV and illustrated by Martin Simmons, who of course both worked on one of my favorite comics today, Department of Truth. It will be releasing on October 25th. I could take it or leave it when it comes to the Universal Monsters, but you follow the creative team, right? No matter what they do. Dustin Nguyen makes a whatever comic. What's a thing you don't like? I'm trying to think, and you would fucking buy it.
Here's a comic about spiders. Done.
Yeah, exactly. Spiders and roaches. Oh, I'm reading
cool. Yes.
So this partnership does aim to bring a fresh take on these iconic horror characters with more comics featuring other monsters to follow. There's going to be variant covers by top artists like Jenny Friesen. Skybound is going all in on these characters.
I think it's really cool. Even just seeing, I mean, to your point, you're not really into the monsters, but it's recognizable, right? And so if you see these monsters and then you see art that you like, or you hear good things about the series, then it's definitely something that people I think will pick up for sure. Now, the better question is there a love story?
Well, the first cover shows Dracula with some lady that he's going to eat, I guess, or whatever.
You mean fall in love with?
Yeah, kind of a twisted love story, I guess, which is not any more twisted than House of the Dragon and those main characters that we're following. What is it, niece and uncle or whatever it is? Isn't that what they are? She's married to her uncle?
Yes, she is married to her uncle. But, you know, bloodlines and things and ancient times. Dragons.
So House of the Dragon secured an Emmy nomination for Best Drama, joining strong contenders like Game of Thrones, The Crown, and Succession. HBO's The Last of Us also received 24 Primetime Emmy Award nominations, including Outstanding Drama Series. Lead actors Pedro Pascal and Bea Ramsey were also nominated for Outstanding Lead Actor and Lead Actress in a Drama Series. So the show has the second highest number of nominations, trailing behind also HBO's Succession with 27 nominations. The winners are going to be announced in September, so HBO continues so far to be the marker of quality. It's just a shame that they had to remove that fucking name from the streaming service And I really don't know what it means for HBO with all of the changes that have been happening at Discovery.
They definitely do have some great shows. I will say I'm still upset that, and I forget his name, Patty from House of Dragons didn't get a nomination. He was fantastic. That man had me in tears with his gross skeleton face.
The king, yeah.
Yes, he did such a great job. But yeah, most of the shows that we watch, at least that I watch right now or watch with you, do come from HBO. So definitely makes sense that they're a top contender.
So if you could have had it your way, would The King have been your favorite performance between House of the Dragon and The Last of Us?
Yes.
Or did you have another? Okay.
No, he would have. Okay, and granted, I haven't really watched much of The Last of Us. The only thing I know about Pedro Pascal is what TikTok has turned him into.
So your view is skewed.
Definitely. The most I see of him is from that movie that he was in with Nick Cage.
Yeah,
where they're like smiling at each other.
Massive talent or whatever, yeah.
Yes. Absolutely hilarious. So most of my knowledge is from TikTok, but I do think that the King from House of Dragon, incredible. Absolutely. I mean, we talked about it the whole time, just how amazing his performance was. And I feel like they snubbed him. Like, what did he do? Who did he mess with? Who did he insult at a party once where they're like, nope, not you. Yeah, terrible performance.
Some of those nominees, I'm like, you could have lost them in favor of the King because he did an incredible job. I agree. He did awesome, and both shows were good. Succession, I'm still on season 1, and I kind of stopped watching it and started working on other things on my watch list. But I'm hearing that, you know, all of these great things about the later seasons especially, and I hate when it's we'll just get through the first season, and then I don't want to go through that, so if it doesn't pick up in the next episode, I probably won't return to Succession, in spite of all the amazing... Conan O'Brien was just talking about how amazing that show was, the incredible quotes throughout the seasons. It just ended. It just wrapped up. So, I don't know. I hope it picks up pretty soon because I want to give it a shot. Like, I want to give it the view that it deserves.
I really do hope it picks up for you also. And for the brokettes that haven't been with us for a while and they're like, oh, but it's just one season. Like, we don't have time.
Yeah.
There's not enough time to really devote to something that we're not enjoying to get to the good pieces of it. And you and I were even talking about it today. Like, if it takes that long for you to get into something, do you truthfully enjoy it or is it really good? Again, I have no doubts that the further seasons are probably incredible, but to have to tough it out until then, because every episode's like an hour long. So you're investing very long time before you get to the really great parts.
Especially as parents, you know, forget about it. If we didn't have kids, it'd be a different story, you know, time to play video games even. Like, play video games and watch everything on your watch list.
Are you kidding me?
All kinds of stuff. But no, not these days. Not with that. Full-time job. Right. And the kids are a full-time job as well, so... These things need to... I get it. I totally understand when people are like, you know, I need something quick and I'm just going to jump around. Like, I'm starting to understand that as I get older. Like, I didn't have that comprehension in my 20s, and now it's like, all right, no, I totally get it. Time is a lot more limited now than it was than ever before. But even still, something will set aside and take my 3 hours at a time, 3+ hours at a time, if I put my mind to it and put some effort. And that project right now is Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer, which has garnered extremely positive early reactions for those of you who care about reviews, Rotten Tomatoes, any of that stuff. Positive reactions if you listen to that stuff. But it does have a star-studded cast led by Cillian Murphy and features Robert Downey Jr., who claims it is the best movie he has ever been in.
Did we have any doubts?
No, it's Chris Nolan.
Of course. Chris Nolan is gold. Chef's kiss. Always gold.
I take back the things I said about him during the Tenet HBO Max stuff. I was wrong. I'm far from perfect, Chris Nolan.
I'm sorry, Chris. Let's be friends again.
Over at Universal, you're doing great over there, and they have all that money. They can, you know, if they need another franchise, Warner Brothers Discovery is pretty cheap over there. So, and you've got a Snyderverse and that you can go ahead and just fund. Let's just do it. Nolan's Zach's buddy. So that's why I'm like, come on, Universal, let's do this. Because Oppenheimer is going to be a hit. And when it is, Nolan's going to have even more pull than he already has.
Of course. Depending
on if other Broquette Core hosts ended up watching the film, we'll either do a full review of that movie, or I'll at least have my impressions here on next week's episode.
I can't wait to hear about it. Again, children, unfortunately, we can't see it together. But as soon as it comes to streaming, wherever that is,
I'm buying it.
okay. As soon as
I've already decided. It's good.
As soon as it's able to be purchased, I will watch it over a 3-day period with the amount of time that we have. But the trailers were fantastic when I saw it. I have no doubts that he's going to do an incredible job. Do you think people are going to come out of the woodwork like, that's not how it happened?
Probably. Yeah, I think the one thing I'm hearing a lot is people are like, yeah, I don't need to see the creation of the atomic bomb glorified, or it seems like it'd be a downer of a film because he regretted creating that bomb. From what I understand, historically, like he was like, oh my God, what have I created type of thing. And that film is going to focus heavily on that. And people are like, I don't go to the movies to feel down. And it's like, you go to the movies to feel whatever the fucking film tells you to feel.
You're going to feel what Chris Nolan tells you to feel.
They're not all guaranteed to be happy fucking endings. Like, it's like, stick to the MCU. Go watch those fucking movies because they're going to make you laugh, and they're going to just have jokes that are not going to, that are going to undercut all those heavy moments and sad moments. So I know you don't want to feel too low. So watch the Disney films. And this movie's clearly not for you. Like, anything that's going to make you feel or think or bring you down a little bit. I mean, the film did what it was supposed to do. And this film is not going to be an MCU'd version of the Oppenheimer story.
And this is my Palpa guess, my Palpa predictions, is that like right before it goes to black, you have that like same feeling of like, oh shit, what have we done?
Mm-hmm.
Boom, credits.
Maybe. Well, speaking of the MCU and Disney, they're all involved in this writer strike. And the ongoing strike by the Writers Guild of America has been joined by SAG-AFTRA, which has intensified tensions between the studio and the creatives. So negotiations between the two have collapsed, and the industry is quote-unquote in turmoil. Bob Iger, CEO of the Walt Disney Company, criticized the SAG strike, calling it, quote, disturbing, end quote, and warning of severe repercussions. So in response to this, SAG-AFTRA president Fran Drescher, one of your favorite actors out there, strongly condemned Bob Iger's remarks and called them, quote, repugnant, end quote, and out of touch with the realities faced by hard-working individuals in the industry. Before we get into another actor reaction, what do you think about Fran Drescher calling out Bob Iger like this?
She is my hero. I love Fran Drescher, so she is the star of The Nanny, which is probably my favorite show of all time. I think I've seen it all the way through 5 or 6 times. Like, just absolutely love that show. But if anybody understands what these writers go through, it was definitely her, because I think I was reading an article where she and her husband at the time moved to California, like on their last pennies to get The Nanny started, and just kind of fell into, some luck to get this show started. But they wrote and produced a lot of episodes themselves. So if anybody understands what these writers are going through, what they're looking for, the compensation they're looking for the hard work that they do, she definitely understands it. But one of the things I love about Fran Drescher too is she's not afraid to stand up for people, no matter who it's against. If there's someone who needs her support, she's there for it. So good on you, Fran. I knew I liked you. I still like you, girl. Let's be friends.
Love Fran, always have. That's for sure.
Always have. I have. She's hilarious.
Well, I have for sure, especially after this Bob Iger stuff. I love that everyone's like, Bob's back. Like, he's going to save Disney. And it's like, he's going to sell that shit to Apple.
Mm-hmm.
And the insider info I'm hearing from people that may or may not work at Disney is that things are not better under him than they were under Bob Chapek.
They just need to get rid of Bob's.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Call up Chris Nolan. Chris Nolan, go run that.
We need a Chris in there. How about a Robert? How about Bobby?
Oh, there you
Our
go.
friend Bobby.
Come on, Bobby. I was like, who's Bobby? Who do I know named Bobby?
You forgot Bobby? You forgot your mom?
I did.
You forgot...
I know. That's what I was like. I've been calling Mom Roberta. I don't know.
Well, the other actor that came out and in support of SAG was Teen Titans Deathstroke voice actor Ron Perlman, also Hellboy, responded online to the news that studios want to delay negotiations further until members start losing their apartments and houses. So Ron Perlman said, quote, "One thing before I get off this video. The motherfucker who said we're going to keep this thing going until people start losing their houses and their apartments. Listen to me, motherfucker. There's a lot of ways to lose your house. Some of it is financial, some of it is karma, and some of it is just figuring out who the fuck said that, and we know who said that, and where he fucking lives. End quotes.
That's a little threatening, Ron.
Yeah, so Ron quickly walked that back, saying he doesn't wish harm to anyone.
I want to see him pull a Gaston, and he's like on his horse, like rallying the village with his flames.
That's funny because he did play the Beast in that old Beauty and the Beast show.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
See, he's ready.
He is ready. He did the Beast, now he wants to do Gaston.
Yeah, I think you should sing the song the whole way, too.
I still love that he thought it was good. Like, I get it. Like, I get why he was upset, but like, that wasn't a good idea.
I'm going to burn down your fucking house. I mean, not really.
JK. He should have put LOL at the end of that.
LMAO if he really wants people to know he's not serious.
Well, some more Bob Iger news. He has announced, this is a good one, but I think it's a loss for him. They've announced plans to reduce the focus on Marvel and Star Wars in the coming years as part of cost containment. So the company aims to spend less on producing content from these franchises and make fewer of them. This shift is driven by concerns about diluted focus and attention. In particular, they blame the Disney Plus series as diluting those two franchises, giving people too much of it. Currently, Marvel's Phase 5 is underway, with Phase 6 scheduled for 2024. Star Wars has new series and a movie currently in development. But did we win? I think we won.
Well, I'm first going to say this was diluted a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Like you're many, many years too late in stopping this from happening. But that doesn't change the fact that these movies are now so expensive to make, especially because the actors know they can ask for that kind of money and all the special effects that go into it. And I'm sure I don't know if this is true, but because of how long it's been going on, they don't get the same reaction that they used to. I remember when those movies first came out and everybody was like, blah, 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 foaming at the mouth, right? And you don't see quite that same reaction anymore. So, yes, we won. We won 20 years later.
Well, it's one of those things where even now people are like, well, they're just shitty. And I'm like, they've always been fucking shitty movies.
Right.
Like, let's be real. As soon as Disney started making them, they became terrible. Like back when it was produced by like Paramount, for example, The Incredible Hulk, that was solid. I didn't like the Iron Man films, but those were also under, I believe, Paramount or Universal, and people really liked those movies. The Captain America movie, that was my favorite MCU film. It is my favorite MCU film, and that was done right before the Disney deal buyout. So this is where it's like, what I've been saying is people are now finally catching up to the fact that these were all fucking terrible the whole time. And they're just, I don't know if it took them longer to realize that they're bad, because they get caught up on the excitement. When their friends and family are also into it, they want to feel like a part of. It's the same thing when someone hates on something, like when the Mass Effect Andromeda game came out and it was being made fun of because of all the glitches. Everyone's like, oh, I heard that's bad because of the glitches. I was just talking to my brother about it. I'm like, did you ever play Andromeda? He's like, I heard it was bad because of all the glitches. And I'm like, that was all fixed day one. But the memes took off that it destroyed the sales in the games. And the same thing happened with the MCU, where there was all this excitement from people and they wanted to be a part of the same team. So they rooted for it and they were invested. And now it's like, yeah, these were fucking bad and good riddance.
Well, I also think they've made so many of the same movie. And that's the thing. Every single movie is the same kind of humor, the same kind of plot, that appeal is probably worn off by now, because yes, haha, this is my kind of humor, but after you've seen it 27 million times, it's not funny anymore. And so then you see the movie for what it really is. And it's unfortunate that it took us this long to get here and that we have so many of these movies out now. But it's just a note in our history.
Well, it's that cookie cutter formula, right? That Disney went, make them all like Guardians of the Galaxy, make them all like this because this is what people like. And it's terrible timing. And I say that with a smile on my face for Warner Brothers Discovery, who's like, we need that Marvel formula. Let's hire the Marvel guy, James Gunn, and he's going to do that for us. And it's like, well, people are tired of that formula now. And you guys just hired the dude that's going to try to make these probably on a lower budget because they have no fucking money. So you've invested on the bad horse. It's once again, Zach was ahead of all of it by making these films that were elevating the genre, and audiences weren't ready for it. The money was there. It's just I guess they listened to the reviews or whatever you want to call it, and that's what the studios ended up going with, unfortunately. They didn't follow the dollar, and now they're paying for it. You see the graphs constantly posted, post-Snyderverse, and during Snyderverse, and it's millions of dollars in profit. And now it's millions of dollars in loss.
Yeah.
So I love to see it, and I'm just hoping that another studio out there sees this installed fan base, that to the point where they even mention there's a joke at the expense of the Snyder fans in the Barbie movie. Like, that's how ingrained in culture the Snyderverse movement is. It's a big deal. Like, as much as they want to get rid of it and try to stamp it out, it's not happening. We're not going anywhere.
Well, I, for one, am happy that we finally gotten to this place where people dislike these Marvel movies. We can sit back and eat our popcorn and say, I told you so.
Damn right. Last bit of news this week is a little concerning, but I think it could also be a good sign. So Zack Snyder's Justice League has been removed from Warner Brothers Discovery's Max service in Europe. So European broadcasts noticed that is no longer on that service. So fans speculate that it could be due to a music licensing issue or cost cutting by Warner Brothers Discovery. So the movie's trailer was also taken down from Max's YouTube channel. However, the movie does still remain in the US streaming service. So that trailer on Max's YouTube was the most viewed video they had on there, and they got rid of it. A little petty, right?
Yeah, very petty.
So similar removals have occurred in the past, which might indicate possible licensing to another streamer or preparation for a free ad-supported television service. So I'm viewing this as, like, yes, it could be extremely petty, but with how broke Warner Brothers Discovery is, hopefully this is one of their decent decisions of, all right, who wants to now stream Zack Snyder's Justice League? And if they do end up taking down that trailer, they will then maybe put it up on Netflix or whomever, and we will then make it a top hit on that service, just like we did with Max.
That's what I was just about to ask. Wherever it goes, are you just going to stream it over and over and show that you still want, I mean, obviously you still want this, right? But show wherever it ends up that you still want this. And then to your point, hopefully somebody picks it up and says, you know what, let's get the rights and let's continue this.
And because we do have kids, there's interruptions, and Leo apparently wants to say something to the broadcast. So what do you want to say?
Oh, about the new game I have is you have to take care of your dinosaurs that got died on a while, and you have to fix things up. And in case you have to sit out the team. That's all.
All right, you have to tell us about Jurassic Park Evolution.
That was a solid review, Leo. Great job.
Thank you. So if it does end up being on Netflix, I think that would end up being obviously a good move because Zack Snyder's over there. They're giving up a couple films, the Rebel Moon universe, Army of the Dead universe, the animated projects. So we're going to keep a close eye on this and see exactly where it goes. In the meantime, obviously, if you haven't yet owned the movie on disc or on Blu-ray or on 4K, you should have by now. And I mean, that's a warning. But if you're in Europe, buy up that disc, get those sales back up. It's still in the top 100 most sold Blu-rays currently on Blu-ray.com or whatever. I don't know the website, but people put it up like it's still a top selling.
Blu-ray.com. That sounds like a very early 2000s. Like, what were the two different ones? There was Blu-ray and then there was the other one.
HD DVD.
HD DVD, yes.
Blu-ray.geocities.net.
Angel Fire. Gonna have spinning roses. The music and the sparkles.
The black screen with the neon green text.
Oh, that was such a simple time. That was a nice walk down memory lane.
And even those little sparkles, I think they made their last appearance on MySpace. Like, I never saw them after that.
I miss MySpace.
Do you?
I do. No, you had to like code on MySpace, right? I was so good at it. I can't remember any of it now. But like, here's my problem since MySpace is gone. How are people supposed to know what I'm feeling if you can't hear a song when you sign in? right? Because when I'm sad, Evanescence, there it is. When I'm happy, I don't know, something happy. Maroon 5 was up there. When I was in love with you, love songs.
It was in love.
When we fell in love songs. But now nobody knows. Facebook doesn't let me tell people.
There's no songs there.
There's
nothing.
no songs.
You got to put up a reel or a TikTok.
A what?
A TikTok.
Who?
There you go.
No, I don't I watch TikToks and comment. I think I have the most followers on TikTok without ever posting anything.
You keep getting those top comments.
I do, because I'm great. I'm hilarious.
Well, that does round out our news for this week. Now we have a Patreon comment from Adrian referencing last week's episode. Said, quote, "Great episode, guys. In regards to the game preservation, I am actually in disbelief that the classic games are difficult to find. I remember when the Nintendo Wii came out, my buddy found a way to access the classic Super Mario and Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Those classic games should be available for digital download like films and TV shows. Regarding the Superman Legacy casting, it's strange that suddenly those real DC fans are okay with it despite these B-list or C-list characters not having solo films. I wonder how low the budget will be. I don't think it matters at the moment due to the strike. I hope you talk about the strike in next week's show." There we go. We talk about Fran Drescher and Ron Perlman threatening people. "I remember the days post-BVS announcement, they just kept announcing hero after hero. They should have kept Doomsday, Wonder Woman, and the rest of the Future League a secret until the film came out. I don't think that was in Zack's control, though." End quote. So I have a couple things here. With the last thing, Doomsday, Wonder Woman, I think even back when they revealed those things, we were saying, and I'll still say this about trailers, if I'm sold on something like Oppenheimer, for example, if I know I'm going to go see that movie, I'm done watching the trailers.
Right.
I'm done. Anything I watch afterward is on me because I know that in newer movies, they start putting in things studio mandated that are there to try to spoil the movie or to try to sell the movie to the general audience. And that includes things like Doomsday or Wonder Woman, which they weren't in those initial trailers. And then as you got later on, yes, they were in there. And that's when I was saying even back then, like I was sold on BVS. So that's on me for having seen those trailers afterward. And it's like, okay, there's Wonder Woman, there's Doomsday. But people like you and I were already following it anyway. We knew from like Twitter leaks and script leaks that they were putting in Zod's body to turn into Doomsday. I think we might have even covered it on the podcast. I think. I don't remember. But even now, it's like, okay, I think that the hardcore fans are the ones that are going to care about those kinds of spoilers. General audience, they don't give a shit. Like people like your dad or my mom or parent, people that aren't into the DC lore, which is most of your ticket sales, they don't care that they don't know who Doomsday is anyway. So when they saw him pop up in the trailer, they're like, oh, some big monster that they all fight. Yeah. And then when they see the movie, they're like, oh, it's Zod's corpse that gets reanimated through this Kryptonian technology.
Is that how they said it?
Well, it's explained in the movie, right?
I want just a general audience member to be like, oh, Zod's corpse, and they reanimate.
So I don't know. I don't see that as a big of a deal because, again, they don't know. Like, if anything, they're like, oh, shit, Wonder Woman's in it. Like, that got them excited.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. The reason these things get leaked or previewed, put in trailers, is for the general audience, the people who weren't sold on it to begin with. But to your point, and I say the same thing about books, don't look up anything while you're reading a book or waiting for a movie or anything like that, because inevitably something will be spoiled. That is the joy of the internet, is there's too much information and very quickly to come across spoilers.
And it ended up working out anyway because it made over $1 billion when you count for inflation in 2023. BVS did extremely well, made a lot of money for Warner Brothers at the time. And sometimes it can work against the film, I guess. Or spoilers don't matter as long as the movie is solid, is what I'm trying to say. For something like The Flash, those cameos and spoilers are so superficial. They just threw in all these fucking characters and old actors that the movie was bad anyway, that no one gave a shit about those cameos. If the movie was amazing, those cameos, even though they were spoiled by people like me even, would have still been praised by the general audience. Like, holy shit, Nicolas Cage showed up. Like, that's amazing.
He did?
Because they wouldn't have, like a CGI fucking Nick Cage. No! It was weird. It was terrible. And now the 4K download or whatever is out. Like Warner Brothers Discovery already released it on Vudu in 4K. And people are taking screenshots of that or pirating it and finding that they look even worse in high definition than they did in like those theatrical screenshots.
Of course. Ugh.
You haven't been on since all this James Gunn casting. Like now John Mulaney is going to be Plastic Man.
What?
In this movie. So Gunn's got Plastic Man, Superman, Lois Lane, Lex Luthor. We've got Mr. Terrific, Hawkgirl, one of the Green Lanterns, all in this Superman film.
So rather than have like pay for one really great character, we paid a little bit for a bunch of really shitty characters.
The actors aren't even this is my problem with it is they're not strong actors, like let alone the characters, right? Like you and I might know who Mr. Terrific is, but anyone else like, okay, or Hawkgirl, for example. Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, we know, but anyone else, they're like, okay, I don't care. Plastic Man, it's like, I get that that's his Gunn's gimmick. He feels like he'll find success in taking the lesser popular characters and trying to bring them forward, like like he supposedly did with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Although we give more credit to that initial screenwriter with her script that he ended up basically stealing, putting his name on it, and he's trying to do the same with these other little characters. He's not going to succeed. That's the problem. They don't have money. They don't have very strong actors behind this. And we know what kind of stories he tells. So I think it's done. They're going to try to do an MCU type of film, and it's going to have the same type of flop that his The Suicide Squad did.
Well, and like we mentioned earlier, people don't want MCU films anymore. So yeah, it's going to be terrible. Again, eating popcorn, watching it all happen.
Watching it burn. That's right. But thank you so much, Adrian, for your comments. Don't forget, you can leave us a comment on patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke. Let's head into the final portion of today's episode, the Broke Kept Block, what PalpaKelli and I have been up to since you last heard us. So you're up first, PalpaKelli. It's obviously been a while. They haven't heard since the birth of little Sophia. You haven't been on since, a month or two from giving birth? Last time you were on?
I think so. I feel like probably March. So I was about a month before I gave birth. So yeah, I gave birth. That's what's been going on with me.
There's now more of us.
There is. That's pretty much been my life. I took a pretty significant maternity leave, which was great. Getting to adjust to 2 children, one of which is used to being in school and is on summer break, and that is a lot. But I just recently went back to work, which is kind of nice to get that break and very much adjusting to what that's like. But all the people, they lie. They say 2 is easier. 2 is not easier. That is a lie.
Easier than 1? What are they trying to say that the second time around it's easier?
They just always say 2 is easier than 1, but I think they tell you that so that you have more babies because it's a lie. It's the biggest scam. I will say there are things that are easier. Like I feel like I knew more of what she needed. Do you think I knew what she needed too?
She keeps smiling at me because she sees me talking and
and seeing you smiling. So yes, I feel like I knew how to care for her better, but trying to juggle 2, there's times I get to the end of my day and I'm just so overstimulated, like in ways I never have been before. And it's like, I can't. I'm emotionally, mentally, and physically done for the day.
Sometimes by like 2 p.m.
Sometimes when I wake up. Leo's thing. So he was out for the summer and I would have her. And I don't remember if he was this way, but she's not the best sleeper. So she used to stay up till midnight and then wake up every 45 minutes to 2 hours after that. So I would try to sleep in as long as I could. If she was asleep, I was asleep. And so again, I hadn't gone to bed till midnight and then up at least every 2 hours. And Leo busts in the room at 7 a.m. Are you awakey wake, Mom? No, I'm not awakey wake. I am asleep.
Asleep.
Very asleep. So yes, that has been my summer. So it's nice. She's sleeping a little bit better now. Still not quite where we need her to be. But as you can hear, she is happy and healthy. Adorable. Absolutely adorable kid. So I guess we'll keep her.
I guess we will. Turning it over to comic talk, though, with you, especially we mentioned Dustin Nguyen earlier, being one of our favorite comic artists. You also submitted a blank comic cover for him to do as a part of the CGC private signing.
Yes, I did. I believe I requested Damian Wayne, which is my favorite of what he's done. I especially loved him in Little Gotham, and I just think he's so cute. But then that little Robin also reminds me of our son too. So I thought that was a perfect thing to get done by him, but he is my favorite comic artist. So very, very excited to get that back.
Is Damien your favorite Robin?
I don't know. That's a tough one. There's things about Damien that I like, but not his mom. Because I knew where you were going with that.
Well,
I knew you were
I was not going there, but actually I was going somewhere worse.
Oh, no.
Because if you're going to say yes, well, James Gunn has a movie coming out starring Damian Wayne.
No.
He's going to be all upon that casting. Like, I need to be there for all the casting. 10 and under.
No. But I do love Damian Wayne. I also like Dick Grayson a lot, too. The other ones, I take him and leave him.
Not too whiny for you, Dick Grayson, the whole, I'm under Batman's shadow. I'm done, man.
No, because then what's his name was even whinier. Like,
Jason Todd.
You let me die. You didn't kill the Joker.
They were both, well, like, yeah, Jason Todd was a lot whinier than Dick Grayson, that's for sure. I think mainly the whole thing of like, yeah, why didn't you kill the Joker and you let me die? And it's like, shut the fuck up, Jason Todd. You knew what you signed up for.
You know what was going on. No, I think I like Dick Grayson because, yes, he is a little whiny and he wants to go out on his own, but then he gets with Starfire and I ship them hard. I think they're great together. And then that ass.
That's the ongoing joke with that, yeah. I'm reading the current Titans book, which is pretty solid. And it's yet another example, follow the creators. Tom Taylor, who did things like The Seas and more recently the Last Night on Earth. It's the medieval DC universe, basically. And it's like, yeah, he's great at doing like, not just, the Injustice comic books he did. And those were sold pretty well for a video game tie-in. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll be in on a Titans book. Like he had written Nightwing, and I don't like Tom enough to like sub to a whole Nightwing book because Dick Grayson's not my favorite Robin, and it's not even one of my favorite DC characters. But when he signed on to Titans, and I'm like, all right, well, let's check this out because it's got the other Titans, it's got Dick Grayson. Deathstroke will probably show up at some point. And so far with issue 2, it is good stuff. It's got shades of what probably would have been 5G in a way. And I would have had to ask Dan DiDio. Hopefully we can get him back on and I can really start asking a little bit more of what those plans were. But essentially the Justice League have taken a step back. They're gone. Whatever writing they did to get them as not the main league in the universe. And now the Titans are like, look, it's up for us to step up. Like now it's our job to protect the Earth. We've been asking for this the whole, like, and I think it was like Beast Boy or someone that's like, are we sure about this? And it's like, we've been trying to get this for, like, of course, Dick Grayson's like, we've been trying to get out of the Justice League shadow this whole time. And in a way, Dick Grayson is like he's the Batman of the Justice League. Like at one point, he even tells them, yeah, I do have a contingency plan in case something happens. And they're like, you're just like Batman. And he's like, yeah, except, and he like had a way of twisting it to where he's like, except I trust to tell you about this as opposed to him. Or, I forgot what he said. But I'm like, okay, he's still a diet Batman, but he's sort of the Batman of this little team, right?
But he learned something.
Yeah, like he takes after Bruce more than, he wants to let on.
Yes, of course. You couldn't, like, even if you dislike Bruce and you're like, you're a terrible dad, you'd still be like, well, you're pretty smart. So
yeah, like I'm going to do things like you do though.
Right.
Because it is the best way.
I'm mad about it, but it works.
As Leo mentioned earlier, the thing on my end is, yeah, I'm going to go see Oppenheimer review or whatever next week. But his Jurassic World Evolution game was on sale. I think it was like $18 or $12 at 80% off. And I'm like, all right, it's like a park management type of deal. And, he used to watch these videos where the dinosaurs would fight each other, and it was from that game. So I'm like, all right, for $12, picked it up. And sandbox mode is not unlocked right from the get-go, which is basically what I wanted him to have fun with, of like unlimited money, have fun, just mess around with your park and do whatever. And the game's like, yeah, you can get sandbox mode if you beat the level and get 4 stars out of 5 on it. So now he and I are working to get 4 fucking stars out of 5 just to unlock sandbox. And once we do, I found out they're like, yeah, and you can have unlimited cash, have the dinosaurs never get sick, never die, never break out, whatever cheats you want to do in sandbox. But you have the dinosaurs that you unlocked in the campaign available to you. And I'm like, son of a bitch. So I was telling you, like, I'm going to end up beating this whole fucking game just so he can have all his dinosaurs. Like, I'm going to be stressing over, got to beat this T-Rex challenge or whatever so I can get him his Velociraptor T-Rex so he can genome them together to get not an Indominus Rex. and it's going to happen.
Well, yeah, of course. You
It's
should have
already
known.
happening.
You should have known.
Well, I didn't know that these things weren't just fucking
Available.
make them available like
Right.
every other goddamn coaster tycoon type of thing.
Right. Watching him play it today, though, because I know you were there supporting him and telling him where to go, but I'm always amazed that at his age he can play these games as well as he does. Like, even watching him play the Lego game, I'm like, how do
As
you...
a 5-year-old,
Right,
yeah.
how do you know how to do this? Like, you're better than I am.
Yeah, I thought I was a little worried that this one might be a little because you're park managing and
Right.
he still hasn't quite memorized the buttons, but I'm like, but he knows what to do. Like, I'm like, all right, ask the ranger to go refill the food, and he knows, like, all right, this is the ranger station. But he does ask me because he can't read. He's like, do I hit X now? Yeah, hit X. Hit X again? Yep. So he just has to memorize like the sequences more or less to then make the rangers go out there and tranquilize the dino or whatever it is. Plus all the objectives are like, hey, make sure to complete this so I kind of have to be there because it's just the reading that's really holding him back.
I mean, it's something fun for you to do with him, though, as, you know, he continues to grow up. He loves spending that time with Dad. Beyond children and work, I haven't done much, but I did get sucked into a book series. For longtime brokettes, they know Kelly and her books.
Her smut.
My smut, yes. You're not wrong. But this is an 8-book series. I'm on the last book. I'm halfway through it, and I still have 13 hours to go in this series. And so that's eaten up a lot of my free time, is just escaping into this world so I can cry. That's all it is. I cry.
They're like romance fantasies or?
Yes. So most of what I read is romantic fantasy, which has romance on the forefront. This is a fantasy romance. So it's mostly fantasy with a little bit of romance in there. It's a young adult versus like adult book. So it's just a little spicy. But I mean, you guys don't know what the book is, but in this book, the last book ends where she gets kidnapped and she's being tortured. And I'm a sucker for somebody being tortured. And the evil person's like, he's never coming for you. And then they just cry and then I cry. I don't know every time. I don't know why.
It's that same like gimmick or whatever story
I
plot.
think I've read like 3 books where it's like that. And every time I'm like, but he is coming for you. Every time. It's great.
Only other thing I did this week too is I wanted to watch the new Mission Impossible, but I'm probably going to miss it in theaters because of Oppenheimer. And I'm still trying to watch Fallout. Yeah, that was the one with Henry Cavill. And I'm like, all right, let me check this out. And, you know, it's all right so far. It's just kind of interesting to see that Henry Cavill, like, I like the guy, right? For the most part, even though, you know, say what you may about whether or not he came out in support of Zach. But I kind of noticed that he doesn't have a ton of range. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, right? Get the roles you're good at. But I've just kind of been like, all right, I haven't seen him. Maybe I haven't seen enough movies with him, but where he, I don't know, like a heavy drama type of thing. Like I know in Man of Steel, he breaks down towards the end when he does kill Zod, and there's little moments like that, a lot of anger and defeat in BVS especially. But in this one, and like in Mission Impossible, he's very straight, like flat, and like, you know, I don't care about spoilers. Like I'm the bad guy type of thing, the bad agent. I don't know. That's one thing I noticed, and I think this was the movie that caused that mustache Superman. I could be wrong, but he has a mustache in this one. And,
mustache and Superman.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was some war movie that he did.
You might be right.
I don't remember.
But he looks very similar in this.
He doesn't look good with a mustache. I'm not about it. Not about it. Yes, and the things that I've seen him in, not a lot of range. I mean, even The Witcher, we watch it for him, but he's not really doing much.
Fighting people,
right?
Having sex, grunting, and that's it.
And saying fuck. I'm pretty sure he says that a lot. But speaking of movies, Leo watched Mewtwo Strikes Back for the first time.
Yeah, he saw the Netflix remake, right?
Yes, he did. And that poor kid got to the part where the Pokemon are fighting and Ash gets frozen into stone and he started sobbing. And I was taken back to my childhood when I did the same thing, except it was sadder because they played Brother My Brother, so you really connected with them because you're like, oh, we're the same. And you don't get that same in the remake, right? So sobbing through the whole thing. And I'm trying to teach him because he's very sensitive when it comes to movies and shows. Anytime it gets to the sad part, like he breaks down into tears. And so I'm trying to tell him, like, Leo, remember we talked about it, like movies always end well. Like the movies he's going to watch. The movies he's going to watch always end well,
Watch
right?
Oppenheimer.
I'm not going to tell him to watch those kind of, okay. kids' movies always end well, Leo. It'll be okay. And so he's crying. He's like, I know it'll end well, but Pikachu's hurt, and I just can't stop crying.
He's in the moment. He's living in the now.
He did. So we got through that movie, right? And he finished crying, and he said that was the saddest thing I've ever seen. Okay. And then the next morning he wakes up, he goes, I want to watch that movie again. So, okay, kid.
Well, there you have it. Maybe Leo will have one more thing to say in the post jingle, but PalpaKelli, I want to thank you for jumping on and jumping into the rotation for this week's episode. And I know newer Brokettes may not recognize you, but you did the show for many years and were the original other host on the podcast. I don't think you have much of social network. I was going to say, let them know where they can find you, but otherwise, just give them parting words.
I don't spend a lot of time posting or replying on social media, but it was really great to be back. Longtime Brokettes, I have missed you all. So wonderful to be back with you. New Brokettes, see you in a few months when you circle back through my sector. But definitely thank you for adding me into the rotation and for all of you listening to our sweet children also contributing to this podcast this week.
And for you at home, if you have 2 minutes to spare, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or whatever you're listening to us on. If they have ratings, please leave us a review on there, because that will at least help bring up our average rating a little bit higher, especially after these gun fans got a hold of some of these ratings. On Facebook, especially if you have us liked on Facebook, leave us a rating right there, because a gun review is the only one on there so far.
Oh, no.
That'll help us out. But thank you so much for joining us this week. I've been Daniel, joined by PalpaKelli and Brocat Core. All will be well. All right, Leo, what do you have to say this time as we say goodbye to everyone? You want to tell them about the Pokemon movie you watched with Mewtwo?
The Pokemon movie, the first one, is pretty good. As Mewtwo and Mew fighting and copies of them. But not copies of humans. And copies of Pokemon who are way stronger.
Yeah, the clones, right?
Yeah, clones. They're pretty cool.
Who's stronger, the clones or the originals? Clone Pikachu or regular Pikachu?
Clones.
Oh.
They'll mix them with Mewtwo. I would say anyway, mix them with same Mew blood. And nothing else. That's it.
All right, thank you.
I enjoyed this segment so much. I'm so sorry, Brokettes, because this is our life.
Yep.
There's Leo recapping his day. Sophia is chewing on her fist, and there is drool all down my arm, and the dogs are wrestling, because why wouldn't we wrestle in the middle of something
in the middle of us recording.
important?
Yes. It's like they get paid.